I heard one person say that if you say you seek refuge in Allah against the curse Satan, he said anything else that you read, you know you got to say it. Because Satan's hand is in everything. Allahu Akbar. And those of you who read the Bible, if you don't have a light to read it, you know when you read that, you got to seek refuge in God when you read the Bible. Allahu Akbar. All praise is due to Allah. So we're in the period of Hajj, and Abraham and his son, they built the house. The stone came down from the sky, and they built the house right where that stone came down. And so, like I said, you have the Kaaba, which is a cube. It is a cube, and at the corner of it, you have the black stone, and you circle around it 7 times. You circumambulate it 7 times. The 7 is symbolic, and obviously the house is symbolic. The stone is symbolic. And so we understand that we go through the rituals that Allah has established through Prophet Muhammad, but we know that the Kaaba is symbolic. We know the stone is symbolic. We know that when we circle around it, it's symbolic. And really, being a symbol, then a symbol has to be pointing you to something that is much more higher, a much more higher understanding. And let's see, you had Abraham, Prophet Abraham. One of the things that God had ordered him to do was to sacrifice his son. And Abraham, he was willing to sacrifice his son. And then, according to Hadith, he actually tried to cut his son. And the son, he was a servant of Almighty God. He was willing. He submitted himself in charge of the will of God. Abraham submitted himself, and his son submitted himself in charge of the will of God. And so, as he was getting ready to sacrifice his son, God stayed his hand, and Abraham was told to sacrifice a ram or a sheep. So he sacrificed that, and he fed the people. So then Abraham understood that Allah does not want the blood of his son or the blood of anything. He understands that Abraham, he had to sacrifice his life, not his physical life. If it came down to it, yeah. If it came down to the cause of God, that you have to sacrifice your life physically, especially if you're in a place of oppression and people's coming at you and trying to kill you, then you have to, fight as best you can. Now, we're not talking about suicide bombers and nothing like that, but you fight like in war, right? And so his greatest sacrifice was to sacrifice his life. How did he sacrifice his life? In service of Almighty God. So you have to serve God. And then we see in that symbolism how we should commit ourselves, that we are willing to sacrifice our life for Almighty God, that we're in service of God. That God is above our mothers, our fathers, our children, our wives, and above ourselves. Allahu Akbar. And we thank Allah for Prophet Muhammad, the last prophet, the messenger of God. And Prophet Muhammad, he said that the best name that you can have is Abd, servant, Abdullah, servant of Almighty God. And then we look at Prophet Muhammad, he's referred as the Nabi, the prophet of God, right? So he is the prophet. That's his best title, right? The prophet of God, and he is the messenger. He is the last prophet. Being the last prophet means that there is no more prophet to come. He is the seal of the prophet. He has concluded what the prophets had to do. So we look at Adam being a prophet. We look at Abraham and Moses and all those prophets. We know that you have 7 major prophets. And Abraham represents the highest station, the highest level of the prophet. On the 7th heaven, the 7th level. So, people whose physical life, they're actually looking for some heavens way up in the sky. They're thinking physically. But by the grace of God, Imam W.D. Muhammad, he gave us the insight of what those 7 heavens represent. There are 7 levels of development, 7 stages of development, 7 evolutionary aspects that's within your own self. And where did we see that physically demonstrated? You see that in Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The characteristics of all the prophets was in Prophet Muhammad, and he represents the completion of it. And Prophet Muhammad is referred in the Holy Quran as a mortal human being. A mortal human being just like you. So if he's a mortal human being just like you, then we have to have those same qualities, those same potentials within ourselves. So if we got those same potentials within ourselves, that potential has to unfold, has to expand out. Right? It's just like a seed. The seed has if it's a cherry tree or olive tree, if it's an olive tree, it has the potential of being a full-grown olive tree. So with the grace of God and the help of God, that seed will sprout. It will grow and develop and reach its full potential. Allahu Akbar. So this is the Eid, the brighter Eid. Why is it called the brighter Eid? The first Eid, which is Eid after Ramadan, that Eid is represents spiritual development within yourself and the community. Right? This Eid represents community development. The community development. And so with the community development, where do we go to get the scientific logic of community development? Where do we go in this day and time? You go right to the Quran, because the Quran has the total scientific logic for developing community life. How do we know that? When Prophet Muhammad, he made the ascension, and he met Adam at the first station, and he went through all the way up to Abraham, and he led him in prayer. That was a spiritual ascension. Then he came back down, and then what happened? Allah instructed him to make migration. And he made migration to Medina, and there he established community life. And that is the model community life. You cannot find any better model community life, because it is the answer of the Jesus prayer. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So when you look at the model community that is in Medina, you see that it represents the model community for all humanity. In fact, the Kaaba, making pilgrimage to Mecca, the Kaaba, the sacred house, it is for all mankind. It is for all human beings. It's for everybody. And it represents a model of community development. Now, somebody was asking one time, he said, well, and there was questioning, he says, well, Saudi Arabia does not allow churches and allow synagogues to be in Saudi Arabia. And so the man response says, well, you have to give respect to the Saudis. When they came in, they had to get rid of all the types of paganism and stuff like that had came back in. And they set up the structure and cleaned it and made it more convenient for us to make Hajj. And if you look at it, when they came in, the Hajj became bigger and bigger and bigger. So the Imam said, why would you want to let somebody else bring something else in there? When he said maybe a whole Saudi Arabia, as Al-Islam grow, might be represent the whole Muharram. Allahu Akbar. So Eid al-Adha, the blessed Eid. One more point, and we'll conclude on this portion of the khutbah. It says in the Holy Quran, it says, وَمَنْ يَقُولُ مِنْهُمْ إِنِّي إِلَهٌ مِنْ دُونِي لِذَلِكَ نَجْزِيهِ جَهَنَّمْ. And whoever says among them, verily I am God, from besides him, indeed we will reward them with hell. Think about that. If you say that I am God, then you will be rewarded with hell. It says that right in the Quran. Isn't Imam W.D. Muhammad a mercy to us? Yes. You know, Prophet Muhammad, he is our model. He is the perfect model for all humanity. The perfect model. So if he is the perfect model, don't we want to be like Prophet Muhammad? Yes. The wife of Prophet Muhammad, Sister Aisha, she said, she was questioned. She says, who is Prophet Muhammad? And the hadith says, don't you read the Quran? and she said, Prophet Muhammad is the Quran.